his shoes. In his shoes. Have you ever thought about trying to fill somebody else's shoes? You know, a lot of times, you see, we be in the moment. Anybody ever got caught up in the moment?
Oh, yeah.
You got caught up in the moment where you saw somebody doing something and you say, oh, I can do that. But you didn't know what it took for them to qualify them, to get them to the point to where they are. But we just sit back and we're looking. You know, it's always weird on the outside looking in. You know, we can be sitting on the outside looking at somebody and we think that we have the same pedigree as they do. But I'm here to tell you today that we don't have the same pedigree that somebody else has. As a matter of fact, if you ever tried to walk a mile in somebody else's shoes, you probably got to a point to where you had a rude awakening. I remember people telling me, they say, Doc, if I had your hands, I'll cut mine off. I'm like, dude, you don't know what you're asking. You don't know what you're saying. You don't know the struggle that I've been through. You don't know at times the things that I thought about. You don't know the practice that I had to do to get to where I am. So how is it that you're going to tell me that if you had my hands, you would cut yours off? Well, that tells me a whole lot about you. That tells me that you're not following the right person. How many of you know when you're not following the right person, conversations like that is going to be yours? You're going to be looking and you're going to say, oh, I can do what they can do. How many of you know that they're doing what they can do? And if you're doing what you can do, how many of you know that God will bless you in doing what you're doing? In his shoes this morning. Well, you know, as I look at the fact of being in his shoes, here's one thing. Here's one thing that I look at. I have to look way back. Remember when you were in grade school when they had this game called Follow the Leader? And so whatever the other person in the front was doing, we had to emulate that. Do anybody remember that? I'll wait a little longer because some of us have to think back a little further than others. So I'll wait a little bit on that. Amen. And so but when we think about that, when we begin to look at that, right? Here's what, how many of you know that God starts to set you up at an early age? Yes. Yes. Amen. You know, because God will give you something to see. He will give you something to look at. He will give you something to follow. How many of you know that the reason why you're here today, because God put somebody in your life and you saw something that may have transpired in their life. And so they said, oh yeah, I'm a Christian, I'm a churchgoer. And so you decided that if I'm going to do something similar to that, then I might want to go to the church. And so here we are this morning. We'll sit here and we're looking and we're trying to figure out how does it work in his shoes. Have you ever been to the point to where you've been watching somebody because you say, ooh, I want to be just like them? Has anybody ever got to that point where you say, ooh, I want to be just like them? Well, I remember a long time ago, right, when they called this guy Michael Jordan. Anybody remember Michael Jordan? You have to remember Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan will cross you up, take you to the hoop, dunk on you, look at you, and then wave bye-bye to you at the same time. And so everybody, and so they even made a movie. The name of the movie, Be Like Mike. And so as you see everybody from way back in Mike's days to this day, everybody's trying to be like Mike. But they don't know the fact of what Mike went through to get to where he was. Now, Mike had to work really hard. How many of you know that if you do nothing, you can't achieve something? You see, too many times we think that it's easy because we see it on television. How many of you know everything that you see on television is not easy? Amen. Now, I know we got some great actors in the house. But how many of you know once you get in front of that camera, that things change? Yes. Amen. Because you start looking at, how many of you know we have side effects? We have side effects when we start looking at the camera, right? Because watch this, you even have side effects at home. Because you get up in the morning, first thing you start doing, looking in the mirror. So you ain't looking